So welcome to this copywriting tutorial. I will cover everything you need to know when it comes to writing high converting copy for your D2C brand. I will cover how the hierarchy of an email has impact on your copywriting. I will cover the different things you need to know and also how to write copy that actually sells. So without further ado, let's start immediately. So welcome to this video. I will go through how to write email copy for your e-commerce brands. And this is the meme of the video. Society, if D2C brands would know how to write copy. That's basically what I've seen so far when we're auditing brands, and in general, you're checking through really good emails and mild.com. We see a lot of things where basically the brand just doesn't know what to write, how to build up an email from scratch. So that's what we're gonna cover here. So one key thing when it comes to copywriting, or just in hierarchy of an email in and of itself, is the one email, one idea framework. And that's basically when you write a campaign, or even if you have some flow emails, you want to keep one email about one topic, because otherwise you totally confuse your customer and it's just scrapey. So it's not like a landing page where you go through a lot of things. You always want to keep one idea. So for example, we have one idea is social proof, and then we focus the entire campaign about social proof. Or we have a blog article, so we focus on the blog article. What we do not want to run into is, for example, we have a sale and then we have a blog article that we're launching, and then we also want to remind them of our FAQ section, and we also want to remind them of our subscription offer. It's just super confusing. So keep it in mind, one email, one idea. So that's the first thing. Now let's take a look at the hierarchy of an email. The first one is the sender name itself. You can always adjust the sender name. For example, what we usually do for plain text emails is we can adjust the sender name to make it more personal, or you can even run it on a regular basis. You make it more personal. For example, you can do, I don't know, Lucy from yada yada, from your brand name. The subject line, as you can see here, and the preview text is this. And this is how kind of the pre-open looks like. So we already have two things that we can play around with, which is the subject line and the preview text, which is also, copywriting. When it comes to that, we have a few things we want to achieve with, the subject line and the preview text. Our main goal is to get someone to open. So how do we achieve that? First things first, we need to kind of pique interest. We need to stand out, and we need to find a way to pattern interrupt. So basically, if you check one of your emails where you have subscribed to a few brands, you will see that there's so much stuff and everything looks kind of the same. So if you find a way to pique interest, stand out, and pattern interrupt, that's one angle to basically get someone to open. So for example, you will always see maybe a smiley, and then you will see everything first letter capitalized, and this is kind of the normal one. But what you can play around with is, write everything in lower cases, or for example, have the subject line itself super small and the preview text super long. So you want to kind of pique curiosity without being too clickbaity, because the last thing you want to do is get them to open, and then the campaign is totally unrelated to what you had in the subject line and the preview text. And you do not want to play around too salesy stuff, because that gets you flagged as spam. But you basically pique interest with the subject line, and then you add some context with your preview text. That's kind of the framing that we use. You also have to check the actual length. Do not make it too lengthy. I do not have the specific amount of capitals letters that people see, but basically if you check your emails, a lot of emails that are getting sent out, they have such a long subject title and also such a long preview text that in the end people do not really see, because it gets capped at some point, and it's just, they're just 3 dots. So that's about subject line, preview text, and sender name. Now let's take a look at the hierarchy of an email itself. So this is the framework that we use for pretty much all of our emails. Is we have the hero image. That's what we call everything here. It's basically something called above the fold. And we work with a headline, subheadline, and call to action. We can also, totally forgot, it's just, logo. That's usually here. So we have the logo, and then we have a headline and a subheadline and a call to action. That's basically everything we need to have in the hero image. And the headline should kind of be the big idea of the email. And that's basically built on what we have in the subject line and preview text. So for example, here in that case, giddy up for 15% off on cowboy steaks this week only. You basically want to have something related to cowboy steaks and the offer 15% off in the headline and also in the subheadline. The subheadline is optional if you can get everything across with the headline. So, you want to have something where basically the reader knows everything within the headline, but you also want to keep it short. So if you can achieve that within the headline, wonderful. If you need some more context, Then you have the subheadline. So the headline grabs the attention, and then the subheadline, pretty much like same with the subject line and preview text. The headline grabs attention, the subheadline adds some context, and you have some more space there. The call to action is to direct people to wherever we want to send them to. So you can have shop now, you can have save 50% off, you can get savings today, you can play around with the call to actions framing, but it's basically just a button so people know they can click here. So that's the hero image, headline, subheadline, call to action. As I said, do not make it too lengthy, because the art of writing copy for D2C brands is not about just having a like super heavy direct response. It's more so to work in tandem with the graphics and basically put your copy in shorter framings so the graphic designer can then take over and use that for the graphics. Now let's take a look at the next step, which is basically an additional body text. This is like everything that comes after that is optional. This is kind of vital, and whatever campaign you run to, you want to have that set up. The next one is the additional body text. So since the hero image is rather visual and we're kind of limited to our words because it would get too puffy, is you can add more context and actually write and explain things in our body text. We use it to go through the big idea, add more context, and pursue the person with a few sentences to click through and check out whatever we're talking about. So for example, you have the sale. Now here in the body text, you basically go through, hey Lucas, this week we have a wonderful special for everyone who loves cowboy steaks. We're running a 50% off offer, blah, 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 blah. So you add some context. You do not make it too lengthy, but you add some context and just, write it in a way that, pursues the people to click through. And then we have another call to action, and then we have another third layer, a third block that is optional. It's kind of the additional stuff. So we usually try to have the headline, visually appealing, additional body text, call to action, and then some additional stuff. For example, you can go through social proof, you can add some testimonials, you can add some frequently asked questions, you can add some product blogs so people can see something without going onto the page. But it actually is just another layer that we can work with. So in theory, the first two parts are already enough. The third part is to add some more context to the email, and most of the time it's more generic or can be built on what we were talking before. So for example, if we have the offer communicated in more sentences here, then on the third block, we just basically, for example, show them our cowboy steaks. That would be an angle. So we can add item examples, breakdowns of unique selling points, go through social proof, etc. By the end, we want to include another call to action so people do not have to scroll up to click through, which is what we call the closing CTA. So here, you do not want, so the last thing you want to have someone is, they see everything and then they need to scroll up and find the call to action button. So you add another one. So you have 3 call to actions, 1 main body text and some additional stuff and the hero image. That's how to write copy with, the hierarchy of an email. If you actually want to check out how this looks in the real world, you can check really good emails and go through the same framework that we use here. So you see headline, subheadline, call to action, additional body text, additional stuff, and then go through and you will see sexual health is wellness. Boom. That's the hero image. We have a headline, and here we have the additional body text, and we have the call to action button here. You can actually put it here and add a subheadline, but here for example as well, this is the hero image. It's time, image, body text, call to action. Check one goal of your list, boom, call to action button, which moisturizer is right for you, find the SPF, blah, 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 shop SPF skincare, boom. You see, they all have the same angle. And it's quite simple if you actually understand the hierarchy of an email. It's just peak interest, add context, and get people to click through. You do not have to write texts and text and text, but rather try to work in tandem with the graphics. So yeah. That's pretty much the video. I didn't want to go into too much detail when it comes to actual copywriting and sentences and stuff, because this framework will help you to understand how to write, and this will help you way more than if I would give you some copy that you can copy paste. So I hope this video in and of itself was of value to you, and I see you in the next one. I hope this copywriting tutorial was of value to you. If you want us to handle all of your copy, make sure to check out the description. There's a link you can click on, get it to my scheduler. We have a super casual conversation, and by the end, you will get a free audit of your email marketing efforts. So if that's not good enough, make sure to check out some of my other stuff. And until then, I see you in the next one, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Talk soon.